All right, hi everybody. Welcome back. We're just letting everybody back in. How was break? Did you eat as many dried mangoes as I did?
Oh,
All right. Now, I know that some people were a little bit late joining us this morning, so I'm just going to give another very quick overview of Zoom. So you're going to see the chat button down below. I'm just going to type hello in the chat. We ask that you don't type anything in the chat unless you're having technical difficulties, because then we'll troubleshoot you there. Just like we had at the end of the last session, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So save your questions, and when it's time for the Q&A, you'll click participants at the bottom of the screen, and then you'll see a button that will say raise hand. You'll just raise your hand and then you'll get a chance to just speak directly to Jeannie and ask your questions. Jeannie also might want to work with a participant at some point in this session or the coming sessions. Again, that will be done with the raise hand feature. So you'll click participants and then raise hand, but only after Jeannie says what she's looking for specifically. If you want to work with Jeannie, please make sure that you have your headphones on hand and that you've configured your Zoom audio settings for the voice lessons so that we don't have to do that in real time. I'll post the link for that in the chat. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Betsy and Benjamin, who have a couple announcements.
yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Benjamin Zarnota. I wanted to just talk to you just a little bit about evaluation. That would be the examinations that will happen throughout. You're going to see two different things. You're going to see daily quizzes. Those will be likely 3 or 4 question long quizzes that will be posted at the end of each day and are tied to material that was covered that day in particular. This isn't just to see whether you were paying attention. Hopefully it is to be fodder for your conversation with each other, and to just keep thinking as you go along, so you don't get the impression that you can just read the text and get everything that you need. Okay. The second kind of evaluation that you're going to run into is the level exams. Okay. That will happen. Well, and I should say, in some respects, that has happened. Posted in Google Classroom, there is a PDF of the Level 2 examination. More or less unchanged, that is the examination that, on the morning of the third day, you will have to fill out in an electronic form. We had a little bit of an issue with this in Level 1, so I'm trying to figure out a way to simplify this. Likely it will just be a Google form that is not tied to Google Classroom. But yeah, so just have a look for that as we go. So essentially, you're going to have these two things. Have a look out, and that's all. Contact me at bczarnot@bw.edu if you have any questions whatsoever about it. Enjoy.
Okay, and Benjamin can put his email in the chat. And I also want to remind you about all the opportunities that we have to do some sharing and connecting here on this online institute. I was talking to some of our international participants, and they're kind of feeling like they're a little bit isolated in a bubble because they're watching the videos after the fact, and it is hard because they're not getting the chance to interact with other people. So we've added office hours. Those are on Google Classroom. Go and chime in and talk to a faculty member. We've added some optional evening activities, things that you could do. Tonight, for example, is movie night, and it's a fabulous opportunity to see examples of all kinds of CCM and other singing and attitudes historically towards singing. I'm going to be making my popcorn and eating it while I'm watching the movie. I think you could bring your popcorn or your snow caps or whatever you're going to bring with you tonight. Tomorrow night we're having a participant recital, and there have been some people who've already been selected to work in that recital. Jocelyn, do you have something to mention about the recital? Oh, Amanda does.
So if you are participating in the recital, you should have gotten an email from me already giving you the rundown in terms of the order. I have a program that was attached. If there's any kind of spelling errors, if you have a change of song, all of that stuff can be accommodated up until tomorrow morning, so just let me know. If you are an international participant that's doing kind of a hybrid where you're here live sometimes and the recital time is in the middle of the night for you, we'll accept a video, but we ask that it's something that you're recording now so that it's in the same vein as everybody else's video or everyone else that is participating the same circumstances. So if you have any other questions about that, you can email me directly, and I'll put my email in the chat. Jocelyn Medina is going to be our sound person for the whole event, so please make sure you get those videos into her Google box, and that link was in an email. All right, that's it.
And we also have a Facebook group, and so we're going to probably start inviting people to showcase their songs on the Facebook page if you want to do that. So Billy might type that Facebook group into the chat again so you can see that.
I'll post the link in the chat. Please shamelessly self-promote. If you have a book, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a CD, we want to hear it. So show us. We want to be fans.
And that's all for us.
All right, that's good. I want to let everybody know that when I started this work, I was alone. I did the first year alone, the whole thing, all day, every day. Then the second year we expanded and I invited some helpers. And then the third year I expanded again and we had some more helpers. And subsequent to that, I've been inviting people to help me. And that was like in 2005. We've been expanding the faculty. Essentially, the people here who are faculty self-selected themselves. In other words, they kept showing up. They kept having private lessons with me, or they kept coming to the teacher trainings that I was doing, or they kept showing up on the chat room. And so in life, a lot, it's when you keep showing up, people are going to notice you. Keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Some people have approached me, well, how can I learn to be a faculty? How can I learn? So I developed a faculty training program, which was initiated last year. Guess who got to be in that program? Guess who I invited? The people who kept showing up, the people who indicated an interest in the work. So should you be interested, you should keep showing up. And as this has gone on, and we've gotten more comfortable since we've been at Baldwin Wallace, it's our 4th year at Baldwin Wallace, they're driving the ship more now than I am. You know, they're telling me, oh, go over here, do this, and we need this, and we want to put this in and take this out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. I love that. You know, it's wonderful that, you know, we were doing a student recital where students would sing for each other. And then that kind of evolved in, well, once it was over, they wanted to keep going. So then Jeff provided some karaoke. So then they started singing karaoke. And the next thing you know, they wanted to order pizza because it was dinner. So we had a pizza karaoke night. I had nothing to do with that, except that I said it was fine. So as you participate and as you request certain things, if you want the Institute to go into how do you work with a church choir, how do you work with students who need help to get into a chorus, how do you work with electronics, how do you work with social media, we can add those courses on in the evening once we know who we have, who's knowledgeable about those topics. And I mean, this past level 1, we had on Sunday night the option of participating in Jocelyn Medina's live jazz jam. You never know what you're going to get here. And that's kind of half the fun. So even if you're far away, you know, it doesn't mean you can't participate. You can. I mean, Moran was over there in Israel, and she made her way over to the United States, and she's done that several times, and then we've been in touch on the internet. Now she's a faculty, she's teaching over there. It grows. I'm open to those things. It's not a real rigid corporate structure. None of us are that way. All right. Now, I am going to talk to you about starting on page 57 or maybe 58, but anyway, 57, the solution sequence, section 9, what, where, and how. Okay, so this solution sequence is the sequence of procedures used to authentically change the default position of the voice when going from one CCM style to another. So that means that when I'm singing in head register, if I'm singing classical music, I warm up toward that default. And then when I sing, I just sing. I don't have to think while I'm singing, stay in head, stay in head, stay in head, stay in head. I just sing. because the muscle conditioning is such that I don't need to do anything with it. It's the same as if you're a dancer and you come to New York and you go to a Broadway audition, you bring your ballet shoes, your tap shoes, your jazz shoes, sometimes all three shoes to one audition. Because they're going to say to you, okay, we're going to do a ballet combination first, then we're going to do a jazz this and tap that, and you do those. Or you don't. But they don't run out and go, oh, I have to take a ballet class, now I can go back to the audition. I mean, you do all the conditioning so that when somebody shows you the dance, you know how to do it. Same thing with us with the cross training, why we work through the middle the way we do, with chest and head, bright vowels and dark vowels, because those are the doorways. Those are the manipulating adjustments. So the default position, again, is to review. It's the sound that I would make right now if I just sang to you where I'm talking. This is where I've been talking to you since this morning. I'm still there. If I vocalize more in head register, which I should have done during the break, for several minutes, then my speaking voice is going to end up more like that. Oh, hi, how you doing? It's going to get headier and lighter because the exercises are going to pull me that way. They're going to warm that up, and then after a while, I'm going to be able to be here without thinking about it. It's just where it goes, okay? If for some reason I was going to sing down here, I would have to warm that up too, okay? So I don't just assume that that's going to show up. I had to work on it. I have to maintain it. It's a lot easier than it once was. But those are the default positions, and the exercises are to help you mitigate the default position more toward classical, more toward head dominant, or the other way. Remember, the chest register is much stronger than head register, so proportionately, 2/3 head to 1/3 chest in the middle usually produces half and half. 2/3 head to 1/3 chest produces half and half, okay? Because chest will overpower the middle if you don't do anything to mitigate it. It will run roughshod on the middle voice, and suddenly it'll be chestier than you know. And then you have the problems that that causes. I also wanted to remind you at the bottom of page 57 that if you didn't have any tools, you just wanted the student to sound comfortable and look comfortable, no matter what they were singing, you would still get a long way. If they sound okay and they feel okay and they can express something in a way that they like, that would be enough. The exercises are a means to an end, not an end in itself. You don't want to produce students who are really good at doing exercises, but not at actually singing. And that does happen sometimes. You get people who have tremendous skill as exercisers. Well, what is that about? It's not actually talking about artistry or anything that has to do with the whole point of being a singer. And so if you get stuck and you get too caught up in level 1 stuff, oh, is this chesty? Maybe this isn't chesty enough. Maybe it's too chesty. Oh, maybe I should make the vowel brighter. You can wind yourself up even with those simple tools. Don't do that. Ask yourself, what if I knew nothing about vocal technique? What if I knew nothing about teaching singing? What if I just listened to this person sing? Would I like what I hear? Would it touch my heart? Don't get so caught up in being a correct teacher, especially when you start, that you eat, drink, and sleep vocal exercises. Okay? When you work with the solution sequence, you're going to go through the process that was presented to you in level 1. You'll have an intake form. You're going to speak to your student, get information. You're going to explain what you're going to do. That's page 58. You're going to work from the modules. In module 1, you let the person sing. You let them warm up. You go up, you go down. You go loud, you go soft. You close the mouth, you open your mouth randomly. And you diagnose as they're singing. What do you see? What do you hear? And then you can ask the person, oh, no, yeah, that was great, but I'd like you to try again in this particular pitch range on an ooh. you're thinking, oh, maybe their head register is stronger than I think. So you're probing, through the warm-up, you're probing to test some of your diagnostic assumptions. Then by the time that's all done and they've physically warmed up and they're grounded and they're comfortable, they're present, you go to module 2, and that's where we do stuff. So this is the tongue out, tongue over the straw, smiley face, head up, nasty sounds, chipmunks, all those weird devices that are not an end in itself. No, you do not want to say,
I study somatic voice work, and we worked on the chipmunk exercises a lot.
okay? I study with Team Levetti, and she uses this exercise a lot. This is how we sing. Everything, all the time. Okay, we don't do that. You choose some exercises using the solution sequence. You make up a musical pattern, a vowel sound, a volume, you go up and down, and then as the student is going, you say, okay, that's coming, that's a good direction, keep going, or a little louder, okay, open your mouth, try not to stop and start, just let it run. You make your adjustments, you change, maybe you do more than one thing. Then you go to module 3. Module 3 is where my voice lessons always started. You come in and you sing, oh, and you were just supposed to have everything together and sing. Well, that didn't work well. So this is where you can do the longer patterns, the faster patterns. You're running through the middle, up and down, through the middle, up and down, not slowly, but at a moderate pace, to just leave it alone and sing. Okay? If you need to, you feel like, oh, it's not as balanced as I thought, go back to 2. Do some more stuff in 2 that would make it balanced, which means you have to know what that is. Then go back and run 3 again, see how it's doing. Then if you have time in the lesson, depending, you might go to a song. Now, you remember the modules expand and contract, so if you are a terrible, awful day, you might do a long module 1, just easy, relaxed, comfortable, skip module 2, go to 3 a little bit, and then maybe work on the song. Or you might do a day when you feel good, pretty short module 1, long extended 2, short 3, and go to the song. You might only have 15 minutes, so you do 5 minutes of module 1, 5 minutes of module 2, and 5 minutes of module 3, and you practiced. Okay? They expand and contract as needed, and you have to get used to them in order to know how to adjust them, as you will do in a lesson. You will figure out, okay, this student sounds pretty good today. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time warming up. Let me just get to, let's see what else we can do with your parts. I used to call them the movable parts. Sometimes you do an exercise because you just want to stretch that part out, or you want to work it to keep it alive and well. Other times you might work on something that's more challenging, but you try to do it in a way that's as comfortable as possible, even though it's not necessarily easy. It shouldn't be painful. It should just be challenging. And then you always end up with some kind of balance. Sometimes the person feels like, oh, okay, now I didn't forget that I could sing. That's good. So that's the psychological element of coming home to, oh yeah, right, that's my voice, I can sing, we hope. With a professional, I don't always work on repertoire because I don't have to do that with them. But with students, where you have songs to teach them, you have to find a way to stick that in as well. The questions you want to ask are, how old is the singer? How long are you working with that person? One performance next week is different than I have a whole semester for juries, or have 2 semesters, okay? What am I working with in terms of register balance, and how are the vowels doing? What's the range of the person? How am I working with that? Looking for the weakness parts of the range, and making sure that things don't start to sound unhealthy. You want to ask yourself, is this sound generally relaxed? If it is, it'll sound pretty comfortable. Can the person move their voice around from different exercises without getting completely lost? Where is the control element? Is it over the volume? Is it over the body? Over the face and mouth? what do they seem to be able to control deliberately? If you have somebody to keep their mouth open, and it's open for like 30 microseconds, and then it's closed again, they don't have conscious awareness of their mouth is not open. That's what the cork is for. Open your mouth. No, open your mouth. Oh, right? Proprioceptively, there's that word again. They may feel like their mouth is open like a gaping amount, but you can see that it's not. So then they have to get acclimatized to having the mouth more open than they would in life. Because in singing, we open the mouth. Then, when you're listening to the sound, I gave you on page 59 a long list of words for constriction. Okay, squeezed, pushed, swallowed, grabbed, held back, choked off, veiled, tight, rigid, pushed, forced, muffled, and yelled. And there's probably more. Those are all words. If you describe the sound that way, there's some kind of constricting going on, not contraction. We made the distinction that if you're going to do something and you know in your throat you're going to have some kind of action in there, that's fine. As long as when the action is over, you can get out of it or you can warm down out of it. But these imply that the sound is stuck in some way. You can't fix something that you are chronically doing all the time, until somebody comes along and gives you the method to undo it. As a somatic voice learning teacher, that's your job. And then later, as you get more skilled with listening, you'll be able to tell whether it's here in the front, if it's here, or if it's here. You know, as the sound quality changes, it tells you what's going on in the throat. You'll learn to look at the body objectively. You'll take in more about the awareness learning curve, and then the style, and of course the demands of any particular piece in this style. So if the student comes in and is a plain vanilla student, has nothing really obviously wrong and nothing really obviously sticking out as a natural, extraordinary capacity, that would be most students most of the time, then you do developmental work. You build head, you build chest, you work on the vowels, you work on the posture, you work on the body, you work on the face and the articulatory muscles. Little bit every time, this way, that way, at random. Okay? That's what developing technique is. Then, when they can do that and are comfortable at least a moderately loud mezzo forte, you can investigate other things, like how belty can they be without losing connection to the middle. And then how do they do in the songs? Please do not choose extremely hard, complex songs for students who are still just beginning to function. And when they bring you Defying Gravity at age 11, tell them no, that's your job. Okay? No, I'm sorry, you can't sing Defying Gravity when you can barely sing an octave and 2 notes. Sorry. You don't like it? We used to say in the 60s, tough noogies. Okay. So we have, on page 61, we have a little grid, spreadsheet grid, like that. And so it reads across and down. So I'm going to quickly walk you through that. What do we want to do? We want to facilitate relaxation. In this case, which you could also say facilitate passivity or neutrality, which is how little do you have to do and still do something. Where are we looking for it? Well, we're looking for it as easy breathing, a fairly neutral posture, in other words, not invigorated, but not collapsed, and the exhalation just going out however it does, which might mean the sound would start out a little breathy. Okay, we live with that. And then how does it work? So you are eventually you are going to work with individual aspects of the process, one thing at a time. So here you might be working with the rib cage or the belly or the jaw or anything that facilitates relaxation, comfort, ease. Okay? Then you are going to induce movement. Why? Because the best way to counter tension is to create movement. What kind of movement? Any kind of movement. Where? Anywhere. Okay? That's why when we do work on muscles, we shake them out after, right? So you want to have comfortable breathing, maybe slowing it down a little bit. Again, your posture's not vigorously anything, and you're letting the breath go. But maybe you're going to work on I, which is tongue, or gla, 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 which is jaw and tongue. Or you're going to work on making sure the head is loose. As an activity, that's movement, which is going to help break up any stiffness, holding, and tension. Then you're going to go into assist recoordination. So this is where things get a little bit more deliberate. So we start to think, okay, what about chest? What about head? As we go from one thing to another. So you're going to take a little bit more active look at the body, working on the rib cage being strong and open and steady, and getting the abdominals to work a little more, letting the breath move lower, and then deliberately stretching the outside, using the cork, using the straw, using the face, making things happen. Then you go for flexibility. So this is about how quickly can you go. Blah, 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 blah. And it's always easier to do that on a heady sound, a light sound. Peter Piper picked a pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a pickled peppers is much harder to do. So keep that in mind. Then you're working on the breathing, and you're doing very deliberate inhalation, very deliberate exhalation while you're making sound. And in your body, the abdominal muscles are working. So you're working now the outside and beginning to work on the inside, which you do first through the image of mental. You may not feel it, but you can think it. So then you want to work on strength. So all of those exercises are slow, even, steady, and fairly loud. Full meaning, in this case, full volume. And these are very deliberate actions. They're very strong. And everything in the body is definitely strong as you can make it. And then the movements are exaggerated. More movement in the mouth, more changes in the face, more adjustments in the throat, more use of the breath. And then as you do that over and over, that's where your stamina comes from. So those are longer sequences at loud volumes on more open vowels. And you really have to stay connected to your body to do those things. And then at the end, we have balance all elements. So you are running from low to high, from soft to loud, from mouth open to mouth closed, from smiley face to dark face. And you're doing all that with some control, but it still feels free and easy. And then you can cut down on some of the movements because they will get internalized. So you don't have to necessarily go, all the time for the rest of your life. Unless you're in Hamilton, in which case then you do. All right, so then we have page 62. I gave you the overview of the skeleton here. So to review, the balance, register balances, chest register, head register are balance of both, which would be mix. The vowels are a, I, o, a, and a. Okay? So that's, for those of you that don't know IPA, father, head, free, hip, open, true, hat, and awful. And all of my Latin language speakers, it's hit or hip or it, and not heat, because in Spanish or one of the Latin languages, that's what you would say, heat. I hit him, and it's I hit him. Okay, he, mouth open. Then we have the vowel quality, bright or dark, or something in between. The tone quality, the way I am asking you to do it, and this is just me, breathy, nasal, noisy, neutral. The range, either the high part of their voice, the middle part of their voice, or the low part of their voice, or transitioning from one place to another. And then all these extended behaviors, where you sing and you chew, and you roll your tongue, and you have a pencil or a straw under your tongue, or you hold your tongue forward, you sing with a smile, you keep your face in that smiley position. You might sing in fish lips, pursed mouth. You might sing with your shoulders up, that releases your neck. You might tilt your head up, that relaxes the back of your throat. You might sing with your head down. There's all kinds of things to do, some of which we are going to use in the solution sequence, but a lot of them not so much. And then we have the other choices. So you have loud, soft, fast, slow, high, low, it's pitch, and look either sustained or staccato. Your mouth is either open, you're either smiling or not smiling, your face is neutral, and maybe your soft palate's changing shape, but that depends on how skilled you are. And then you have the tones. Keep the musical pattern simple. This is not ear training. I don't need you to, sing on minor sevenths or something like that, or in harmonic minor. And there is an element of zigzagging in good teaching. So you get the student working, you get the head register working, you're building up the high voice, you're really getting that strong, and then you say, okay, good, we'll keep that. Now let's go sing down low. Let's work on chest. What? I've been working on head for 4 weeks. Now you want me to do chest? Yeah, well, we'll come back to head. And you go some other way. And then you say, oh, well, we got a chest and a head. Let's do mix. Let's just do mix. You can't make up your mind. What do you want from me? That's normal behavior for you as the teacher. You zig and you zag. You go over here, then you go over there. You go back, you go forward. You go back, you go forward. That is how the process happens. It's not linear. So do understand that that is normal. Keep your exercises in a rhythmic tempo. Yabba-dabba, 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 dee-ba-da-da-dum. And breathe, and then yabba-dabba-dee-ba-dabba, exhale and rest and breathe, and yabba-dabba-dee-ba-dabba, yabba-da. That helps the person's body get into sync with itself, with the breath, and to feel that rhythmic pattern. So there's time to finish the exercise, take a just minuscule pause, inhale, and come in again. And during that time, you can do, that was great, take a deeper breath, and then they sing. Okay, now you're really breathing. Use those belly muscles, and then they sing. Try to keep those tempos even and connected. If you drag yourself or you play uneven or you start and stop, it doesn't give the body a chance to do something rhythmic and coordinated, and the idea is to de-coordinate it. Now, I am okay with what I just explained. And I went a little bit into most of it. Does any...
Should we see if Jeff is ready to go with his a little early?
Well, what I was going to do first is take some questions.
Great.
And then, Jeff is due to start at 2. So between now and 2, I could take some questions on this. Does anybody have any? If they do, you have to raise your hand.
Great. So Kathy O'Donnell, I'm going to unmute you. So once again, if anyone has questions, you click under participants and then raise hand.
Hi, Jeannie. It's a privilege to meet you and to be in this class. So, hi. I have a question about something you just said. You said singing with shoulders up, and then you said what it did, and I didn't catch what you said it did. Releases something, or?
Yeah. Remember, in level 1, I talked about these side muscles, the strap muscles, and how they have an effect on the position of the larynx in the throat. That's called the vertical laryngeal position. When you swallow, the larynx rises. It rises first, and then when you finish, it goes back to neutral. Then when you yawn, it goes down. Okay, so that's what happens, and that's what the constrictor muscles in the throat do. So they move things around so that you can swallow food in the right pipe. Sometimes dancers are very tight here from lifting their head up a lot, stretching, but you can also just have a lot of neck tension for all kinds of reasons. So the 2 things that help release that are either to sing with your shoulders up by your ears, so you become Jeannie, no neck, or sometimes it works if you sing falling over from your waist or your hips and just hanging, let your head hang, and then singing, because then that lets everything go. Sometimes if you do that for a while, waiting for the bus, but when the person stops doing that, they put their shoulders back down or they stand up straight, some of that release continues. So it's a way to intercept the tension and also bring to awareness, what does it feel like when it lets go? It doesn't always work. I wish. But if you think that the neck muscles are tight one way, that's not the only way. That you can help that is just to say, sing like this. Now you have to watch this, because if the person doing it does this, that's no good. It's just leave your head alone and raise your shoulders. Don't, you're not becoming a turtle. Right? So a lot of these exercises, especially the ones that are peculiar, you really have to watch that the student does it any old which way that they feel like. Because if they do it badly, incorrectly, and you let them, you could make them worse. So with all of these exercises, don't do them until you understand what they're for and how they work and what you need to see and what you need to evaluate. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Great. Cassie Okenka, I'm going to unmute you.
Great. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I'm curious, based on observing all of your all the participants' work, I'm curious your use of all ascending exercises and when you would use any descending exercise and going from top down versus bottom up.
I hardly ever do descending exercises. And I'll tell you the reason is because unless you're working with a skilled singer, I find that they're not particularly helpful. Most people, when they are singing, as they rise in pitch, the sound gets tighter. That's a common behavior. It's not so bad on the bottom, and then as they go up, it gets tighter. So if you start up, you get ah, 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 ah. And if you have some version of that, all you're doing is starting tight and taking the tension down. Starting tight and taking the tension down. We are more likely to be relaxed in mid-range. So the likelihood that you're going to get that is at the bottom. Hello, how now, brown cow? You got to get that first. Then you have to have some kind of head register. Ooh, and it doesn't have to be perfect, so that the person singing can do. So the ascending exercise, while it's more difficult to start with somebody until they have a register change, in the long run, it teaches you a lot more about coordination. And this, it comes out of my training as a singer. Every single singing lesson, and I had gajillion singing teachers for a long time, did or. And guess what? I never learned anything that way, because I was one of those weird people who had happy high notes. So, did that teach me anything? No. But that's what everybody did. And what that ended up with is that all I had was the head register here. That was as loud as I could go. So since this is CCM, and most of this music is, the process here is oriented toward commercial music, it's about learning to sing in chest comfortably and take that above the break into a headier mix, provided you have a headier mix. It's not wrong to do descending exercises. It's acceptable, why not? But you've got to be really careful about what that first note is. Because if it's a tight, stuck first note, it's not likely to be better as you take it down. Okay? Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome. Carrie Lemke, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question and allowing me to be part of this. It's really amazing. My question is, you were just speaking at the end there about focusing on, not right, but further questions. You were talking about perhaps if someone has to do a lot of head development, to spend lots of time in that, and maybe for a few weeks. So then, just because of my kind of framework already, I'm wanting to make sure I really understand fully this process. Does that mean you would not do any chest exercises in module 2 during a lesson for a series of weeks?
No.
Or, so, okay.
No. You're going to put 2/3, 1/3.
Okay. Okay.
2/3 head and 1/3 chest.
Right.
You don't want to do only one thing.
Right.
You want to kind of lean in the direction of that more.
Okay.
Okay? Now, I'm going to contradict myself. I have professional singers whose voices I know very well, and I'm working on something very specific, and I have been known to say to them, okay, for the next 2 weeks, you're on a head registered diet.
Right.
Stay away from chest. What? Stay away from chest? How can I function? Well, like, as a reasonable person, as much time as you could without making yourself nuts, try to stay heady all the time. Mm-hmm. And after a couple of weeks of that, they're really ready to kill me. But then they'll say, oh, it made a big difference. How about that? Mm-hmm. So with a general student, with a developing student, lean in the direction of whatever it is you're developing, and then touch on the other things.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, Jeff is a wonderful middle school music teacher. He has a huge amount of kids in chorus. And he also is a rock singer and guitarist and drummer and general Renaissance man out in Michigan near the lake, the Grand Rapids area in New Zealand. And he's gotten real efficient about using the solution sequence. So I asked him to tell you how he works with it. And so, Jeff, will you take over here now and give people a little more guidance about it?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Jeannie. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction, Jeannie. This starts with a very short full disclosure. I had been to, I think, a couple level 2s, maybe even 3 years ago, and really didn't yet have my head wrapped around how to use the solution sequence. When really, if we're here to teach and learn from what Jeannie has put together for us, it's the meat of her work. It's really a super important part of it. It's a succinct way to execute change in a voice that needs changing, and not all of them do, as she mentioned a few minutes ago, in as short a method as possible, as short of a direction as possible. Is this the only way to fix these particular problems? Probably not. Jeannie will admit that. But in her 49 years of teaching experience, it's the quickest and most direct way. And for the sake of the level 1 breakouts, before I say that, let me back up. Jeannie explained fairly in-depthly the entire sort of how the entire solution sequence can work and does work and will work. We're going to scale that way back for the purpose of our little experiment that we're putting together in the level 2 breakouts. So it's going to be a little bit more limiting, and it's going to help everybody if everyone can stay on the same page and very much stick to the recipe. And by that, what I mean, what's in the book on pages 66 and moving forward from there. So Billy, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yep, I believe I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Thank you. All right, so let's just look through that. Here's the the list of problems that you might run into. So after you do your warm-up, and we're going to ask that even though semi-occluded vocal tract exercises can be really great warm-ups, I know that lip trills are a great warm-up for me. We're going to ask that we stay away from those in the warm-up portion of the breakouts, because it's difficult to diagnose what the vocal folds and vocal tract are doing when we're not hearing an open vowel or a bright vowel. So you got your list of problems. So after you do your little warm-up, And after you check in with your singer and ask if there's anything in particular that they want to work on, then do the warm up. And then if your ears agree with what they reported that they want to work on, that's going to be obviously the direction that we're going to want to go. So we're going to pick a recipe from one of the following. If your ears disagree with what they would like to work on, in our experimental situation this week for the next 3 days, we're just going to kind of need to decide. Maybe the facilitator in the room can help make a decision, but we can just decide. Let's say we're going to work on no or weak head register, because maybe they're a powerful lower singer and they've got a very weak head register and they want to work on that. So what we need to do is go really, really step by step and make sure we're covering all of the things on page 66 or page 1, it's called in your handout, the PDF. The vowels that you're going to use to strengthen head register are either going to be E or U. Now, in the moment, you may have a thought of a remembering of a student that you helped with head register on something that wasn't E or U, and it really worked. For our experiment, we're going to insist that you pick either E or U if you're going to work on head register. Head register loves those vowels. I think we know that. And then you're going to pick a tone quality. So you're going to want to go with, and the tone qualities are generally listed in order of priority, which seem to work best, are listed early. You wouldn't want to probably sing super loud and low in working on head register. That's why light and high are listed first. Baby like, delicate, sweet. Then you're going to pick a musical pattern. The solution sequence suggests for head register strengthening, staccato, short scales, single notes, easy short slides. So we're probably not going to toss in a 9-tone scale right away in this segment. And the volume, soft to medium. Someone with a big, heavy, loud voice who wants to work on head register maybe has trouble getting soft to medium volume. So that's where we're going to need them to go. Range, medium, high at first, not as high as possible. We're not going to break any world high pitch records here. We're just trying to help this person strengthen chest register. Keep an eye on the physical body, but we're going to not put a huge priority on physical body in the breakouts, just purely on the interest of time. Obviously, if you see something glaring that you would like to address, don't hesitate to, but understand that we're going to have about 15 minutes per teacher to work through one of these. And then once you get through that, and then here's a list of possible problems that you could run into. If you're working with a beginner, head register will likely be breathy. And that's probably okay, especially if they're young. And this should be left alone for now, as it'll probably clear up over time. And there's some other possible problems you may run into with future students working on each of these issues. Each teacher, when we go into the breakout rooms, we're going to split up. Half of you today will get to teach, and hopefully if it works out and everybody's willing to sing, the other half can be the singers. And then in tomorrow's breakout, that's flipped. The people who sang today will get to teach, and the people who taught today will get to sing. And let's move on and look at, you'll see here on page 67, you've got what to do if there's a weak chest register or someone who wants to work on chest. Lack of coordination between registers is often why people come to this workshop, to this institute. So that is the one. Let's take a look at that too, as just a little, this is kind of a review of what happened in the third breakout in level 1, which was yesterday. Lack of a coordination between registers, big break. So that basically, in a short three-word sentence, is work on mix. Fix the middle. Fix the transition between, make my break less pronounced. So lack of coordination between registers. Look at the first vowel listed, ah. Second vowel listed, eh. Both of the ones that Jeannie has mentioned, both yesterday already and today, for that type of work. Tone quality depends on which register is strongest. Strengthen the weakest one first, which means you might run into a weak chest register or a weak head register. So you may, as part of this one, need to work a little bit on one or the other before trying the slide. And then we're going to want to look at the musical pattern. Slide, any kind, and or rapid scales. My advice, and we've talked about this in breakouts too, in our practice sessions for breakouts, I should say. If you're going to work, let's say a high female voice, if you're going to work that voice through the break, you don't want to start, and you're going to play a 5-note scale, or you're going to play a 5-note slide. You don't want to start them on something crazy like F sharp. You would want to start like below the break, like A below middle C, and then work up to the break on your work your way up. Starting at, and Jeannie, you talked about this just a few minutes ago. Don't necessarily start up, because that's going to probably enter and bring in more tension than we would actually want. Okay, I believe if Jeannie has anything to add, I think that's basically covers my. Let me just do a quick succinct finish. So when you pick an exercise, let's say it's weak head register, you need to first pick a vowel, second pick a tone quality, third pick a musical pattern, fourth pick a volume level. That's on all of the solution sequence recipes, all while keeping in mind the pitch parameter sheet. So if you've got that pitch parameter sheet, if you don't have it handy, you're going to want to make it handy, because it comes in very handy. It's in the Google Classroom. Helps you know where to start, especially if it's a different voice type than you have or you're used to working with. Okay, how's that? Good, you guys? Good, my fellow faculty members?
That's great, Jeff. And one thing I would add is that as you pick your vowel, your tone quality, your musical pattern, and your volume, when you demonstrate it for the student to repeat after you, make sure you're demonstrating what you're asking for them to do. So if you would like them to sing something heady on an E vowel, and you demonstrate and say, now sing this heady sound, E, that's what you're going to have them repeat. So you might want them to do E. So make sure that you're demonstrating with that tone quality.
Thank you, Betsy.
All right. So now we're going to do a little mini mock session to illustrate what Jeff just explained. And remember, with everything that we do, we have a format, but the format is flexible. We have a structure, but the structure is malleable. Your faculty person, whoever it ends up being, has permission from me to adjust as needed. And so no 2 sessions will be the same, which is true for the whole work. There's no 2 voice lessons in this studio that are ever the same. And that's how it is. But it's not just random, any old thing, whatever walks by my brain and, oh, I picked this, I picked that, and no, it's not that either. It has structure, it has definite framework, but as you get used to it, you can adjust it. I said the other day that it occurred to me it's a lot like jazz. Jazz has a structure, it's got a definite theory to it, but then as the artist gets more facile, they have lots of room to use those tools to play around. So let's have faculty demonstrate for you. Okay, so faculty, who wants to facilitate, who wants to sing, who wants to teach? Anybody want to volunteer?
All right, Betsy is volunteering.
Betsy, what do you want to do?
I would like to be the teacher.
Okay, Betsy's going to teach. And faculty person who's going to sing?
All right, there are lots of hands going up, so you have your choice of Amanda, Craig, Theo, or Leishan.
So, Betsy, do you have a choice?
Oh, who would like to sing? How
Theo.
about Leishan?
All right, here we go, Leishan.
Okay, so I'm going to be facilitator. Betsy's going to be the teacher, and Leishan is going to sing. And I only intervene when I feel like I'm not quite sure what Betsy's doing, or Betsy is doing something that maybe I feel is not going to go in a good place, or maybe Leishan looks like she's miserable, but Betsy misses it. Now you have to understand that these wonderful women, this is not how they are, but they're demonstrating so that we can be a little bit more representative. And I'm not involved in the breakouts. I don't do the facilitating. So you wouldn't get me anyway. I've been told that I'm intimidating, which I just don't ever want to be, but okay. So, Betsy, this is your student for this breakout. Her name is Leishan. Why don't you talk to her?
Hi, Leishan. How are you?
Hi, Betsy.
Tell me a little bit about what kind of music you sing. Are you a high or low singer?
Yeah, I'm a soprano and I generally sing musical theater.
Oh, that's excellent. So, is there anything in particular you'd like to tell me about your voice or any troubles you've had lately with your voice?
Well, it is still pretty early on the West Coast. So head register is probably willing to go, but chest register, it needs a little like moving around in the morning.
A little TLC. All right, so
Yeah.
let me just hear what your voice sounds like. I'm going to just kind of do a general little warm up, and I'm going to use some open vowels because then I can diagnose faster. So sorry, it's not going to be a thorough warm up, but just kind of a diagnostic warm up here. So how about if we do E, Can we do that all on ooh? That's great. One more.
Okay. Now, Betsy, as you're warming up Leishan, what would you say you saw or heard just in this initial part of the warm up?
So far I would say that her description of being a soprano was accurate because she's easily able to get into that head register at the top.
Okay. And did she seem comfortable?
She did. She looked comfortable as she was singing. One thing, Leishan, how loud were you singing on that one on a scale of 0 to 10?
I would say like a 6.
Okay. So that helps me while I'm on Zoom here.
Okay. So go ahead and continue with the warm up, Betsy.
Okay. How about if we see what the lower part of your voice wants to do today? So let's do Can you go a little faster?
I'll try.
Nice. That's a G. How's that so far, Leishan?
It's fine. It's not awake.
It's not awake. It could probably use a little bit more warming up. Let's just do one more quick diagnostic so I can see what your voice does when we cross across all those registers, shall we? How about if we do may, 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 may.
May, 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 may. May, 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 may. May, 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 may. May, 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 may. May, 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 may. May, 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 may. May, 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 may.
That's nice.
Betsy, what did you hear or what did you see with Leishan?
So as she was singing, I could hear that it was crossing from a chesty kind of a place through the mix. It switched over to head at the top, and it seemed like she was able to do that fairly easily.
Okay. Did you notice anything about her body?
Well, it seems like it's a little bit kind of Zoom related right now, but we could work a little bit towards that. Maybe as we work on some exercises, we'll talk about staying a little bit more upright.
You had asked Leishan what she thought maybe she wanted to work on. You want to double check with that with her?
So, Leishan, do you think we would like to work a little bit more on waking up that chest register?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
So if I look at the solution sequence diagnosis page, I can see that working on weak or no chest register would be on page 67. So I'm going to go to page 67 and I'm going to pick a vowel and something. Let me see if I can remember what we're picking.
And there's
So,
these are the ingredients on the recipe.
okay, so in the recipe, let's see. It says work on an ah, an aw, or an o vowel
Right.
in a dark or low sound. And it says a musical pattern might be a single note or whole tone slides or third slides done slowly, moderate volume, staying low to begin, and your body should be loose jaw, drop jaw, loose tongue. Okay.
Okay.
So, how about if we take an ah vowel, maybe aw, maybe a darker aw, and let's do a third slide at about a medium volume. Okay, so let's try something like this. Oh, sorry.
Did you check the pitch range default for a soprano?
Oh, that's a great idea. So let me take a look at the pitch parameters page. So soprano, her lowest note would probably be a G. So I don't think I'm going to start on the lowest note.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so how about if maybe I start maybe a B flat, and I'll do a third slide on aw, nice like that. So something like this. Oh, so sit up nice and tall on your chair.
That is an excellent example of a sound that would be certainly chesty. And what volume did you say you did that at?
I was probably at a moderate volume, somewhere around 5 or 6.
Okay, great. So go ahead.
Okay. That's right, Leishan. Sit up nice and tall. Take a breath. So how loud was that for you, Leishan?
Like a 4 or 5.
Okay. And how is that? Is that all right?
Yeah, it feels comfortable.
Is it starting to get warmed up a little bit?
Yeah, it's getting there.
All right, so let's do a little bit more. Let's pick another pattern that we could do and continue to work in this chest register. So another pattern that we could do are single notes or short scales. So what if we take a short scale on O, and again, we'll stay at that moderate volume, and let's do O. Good. How's that so far?
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Now, Betsy, did you hear anything in the sound as Lucian was making the sound?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a little blip in there as she was doing it at one point.
Great. So that really indicates that you were listening, and there, as it's warming up, it's not necessarily perfect, but it's going in that direction. So you're giving Lucian a good encouragement. That's really nice. Do you want to do one more?
Yes. Let's try one more pattern to continue working on this chest register, and then maybe we'll see what the whole rest of the voice is doing after we've done that, shall we? All right, so let's pick another pattern. Let's do something, let's go into that that Santa Claus place, okay? And so let's just do something with oh, think like ho ho ho.
Okay, pretty loud.
Yes, I would say let's go a little bit louder on that. So maybe around a 6 or a 7.
Okay. Oh.
Good. Sit up nice and straight. Take a big breath.
Oh.
That's nice. There we go. Good. And let's do one more. Good. How's that so far? Are you comfortable?
It was okay. At the end, it got a tiny bit scratchy in the throat.
Yeah. So that was the place where your voice was saying, okay, let's move to something different now.
Yeah.
See, just in terms of time, we need to go forward, and so we were in module 2 when you were module 1 when you were warming her up, and module 2 when you started having her do the kind of foggy Santa Clausy one, and went up and down in those various different chesty ones. So now we need to go to module 3, which is a kind of wrapping up and trying to get Leishan back to a more normalized, balanced place in her middle voice where she could then finish warming up and go do a song. So can you choose something that would be from coordination?
Coordinating the registers. How about if we do a pattern where we're going to cross across? Well, we could do some slides a little bit. Let's see. Coordination of registers on page 67. I can see it says slides of all kinds and rapid scales. So how about if we maybe do a rapid scale again, going across that break? Can we do something similar to what we did at the beginning? How about if we do Good. Sit up nice and straight. Ah, yes, that smile was helpful on the ah. So how was that so far?
Excellent.
That's it. Yeah, it warmed up the bottom part a little bit. We didn't go quite as low. You want to try something one more time and just see what happens? Let's go back to that May, May, May exercise where you were crossing through all the registers. So May, 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 May.
May, 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 May. May, 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 May. May, 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 May.
Right, just at the bottom.
May, 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 May. May, 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 May.
Yeah, that got to head at the top too.
May, 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 May. May, 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 May.
Just because we're running out of time. I sort of would like to know from Leishan, how would you evaluate the sound you were singing? Would you call that a chesty mix, a heady mix, or something else?
Well, on the bottom it had a bit of chest in it, but on the highest notes that was definitely a headier mix on the top.
Okay, and Betsy, would you agree with that? Did you hear that?
Yes, I think it was a chesty mix at the bottom. The lowest one went to more of a chest, but then in the middle when we were working it was a chesty mix. And at the top it was getting closer to a heady head.
Yeah, right. So, you know, in a condensed way, you got her warmed up enough so that she was in a good place. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so folks, this is one version of how the solution sequence breakouts are going to work. Now, obviously, Betsy knows what she's doing, Alicia knows what she's doing, and it may not be representative of all of you, particularly if you've never heard of any of this stuff before. So if it's not this, if it's messy, and if you as a teacher aren't used to teaching, it's okay. You can ask the facilitator for help. I've never taught anybody and I don't know what to do. What should I start with? That's what they're there for, to help you give some suggestions. Okay, let's try doing head. Let's go to this page. Those of you that are comfortable with teaching and know how you start doing your own Vodio Do, which works when you're home. Facilitator's going to go, excuse me, that's not on the solution sequence. So that your job here is to learn to hear functionally, to think functionally, to see functionally, and then to create exercises functionally so that you know what that means, okay? Now, it does not negate whatever you do with your students that's already working. Bless you for that. We're not judging it. We're just asking you, as Jeff explained, to stick to this so you know what this is. And so Betsy and Leishan gave you a good representation of the dynamic. Everybody is supposed to teach. And the only reason that you don't get to teach is if your larynx has fallen out during the break. Okay, so everybody teaches, and everybody who can sing, sings. If you're on voice rest from a doctor, or you have some severe cold or something and you can't sing, don't sing. That means that maybe in your group somebody would have to sing more than once, but it's not going to kill you to sing for 10 minutes twice. So we're going to have a break here. Then after the break, at 3:15, you go to your breakout sessions. Now, does anybody on faculty want to explain to the new people how they're going to go to their breakout group?
Yeah, so Meredith has emailed you through your Zoom links for your breakouts, and you're going to click on the Zoom link that Meredith sent you for your first one. You're going to have a different link for all 3 breakouts. So today you have a link, and then you'll have one for tomorrow and for the following day. Jeannie, before we go on our break, there were quite a few questions about the tone qualities in the solution sequence. I don't know if you wanted to quickly run through that. Okay. So like what you mean by birds or trills or mice or chipmunks or Santa or foghorn.
Well, a burr is a standard way to describe. A chipmunk is what I did before.
All the chipmunks.
You may not be able to make that sound, so then don't use that exercise. Birds would be whoo, whoo. Maybe not really a bird, but tweet. What else is there, Billy?
There was foghorn, Santa,
Foghorn.
pigeon coo.
My side, foghorn is low breathy. And Santa's not so breathy.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. What do you want for Christmas, little girl?
Okay. In order to do that, my larynx has to fall down pretty low. Not a lot of people can just do that, so you come as close as you can. What else?
Heavy or thick?
Well, that would be like Santa, but a little bit more pushed.
Hi, hello, I'm Darth Vader.
I don't recommend that is something you would do right away, but sometimes with people who have strong voices, a little bit of a push in that direction is okay.
What about yawn sigh or monster?
Somebody relax. Now, if you have somebody who says, hi, how are you? I like to sing. Those are the people that you want to go, oh, I would love to sing. Okay? The yawn reflex allows the larynx to relax and the tongue to relax. Doesn't always work, but that's a good direction to go in.
And nasty or squeaky?
Nasty is like, oh, mommy, I don't wanna. No. We've all heard that. And squeaky is similar to chipmunks.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. No. Meow.
And I think the last one would be light.
Light? Ah, yes. I see. This is very light. I'm very like just so light. Oh, yes. Hello. That's the light voice. Right? Not everybody can just open their mouth and do these sounds. Obviously, I've been doing them for a gajillion years, and my throat was predisposed to be flexible in the first place. So you don't do ones that seem completely impossible. You don't do ones that are really remote. That's why I've given you a bunch of alternates, because they're overlapping, but one might be more accessible for you or or the student than others. Okay, so you have a range of possibilities. And if you make up something in this ballpark and it works, it's okay. All right, make sure you do some movement. We have wonderful movement videos for you. Don't just sit in front of your computer and shrink. Do some good movement, and be ready to go at 3:15 on your groups, and have a lot of fun, and I'll see you on the other side.
I will have Meredith resend through the emails as well, because a few people are saying they haven't received them, so you will get that link from Meredith. Check your emails. See you soon.